happens. It's happening.
It's happening. We are live. What's up, everyone? What's up, photo friends?
What's up?
Phil and Will here. We are just setting up, getting everything ready, making
Just test
sure.
this on the iPad.
Yeah, just testing our audio. So if you are here live watching right now, make sure you leave a comment. Post a comment right now. Let us know if you can hear us, if it sounds good, if you can see us, if you are ready to rock and roll. And as always, it looks like we got 13.
Sorry. Yep. Yeah,
Sounds good to
yeah,
us.
yeah.
Sounds good to us. Let us know where you're listening in from. This is like the highlight of our day when we see where everyone is tuning in from. It's awesome to see people from all around the world. We're just going to give people a minute or two to sign in live. If you're watching the replay, welcome to the live stream. And just super excited to have everyone here and get going. It is October. It's the end of October, and so we're doing this a little bit later in the month, but I was I had a conference actually for Udemy. So Udemy puts a conference together every year for the instructors where we get to come together, learn how to teach better and create better courses for you and just hear what's new with Udemy. And that was in Berlin today. Will's
Apparently it's the only way I can see comments. So
It's so funny.
all right.
We got India, we got New York, Labrador.
South
That's
Africa.
Canada, right? South Africa,
There's,
East Coast. Thank you so much for being here
Ontario,
live with us.
hello.
Super excited.
Anita's here.
Dallas,
Paul's
Texas.
here.
Mike, what's up?
All the usual suspects.
All the usual suspects. Belgium. Oh man, we got the whole world here. That makes me so happy.
Canada, right?
Cool, so we're just gonna jump into it. Massachusetts, Paul, what's up? Springfield, nice. Okay, so today we're gonna be just doing some basic updates. We'll be looking at our weekly challenge winners, the photos that got the most votes or likes. We're gonna be looking at the competition results for the Night Lights photo competition, doing a little camera chat, then opening it up to live Q&A. So if you have questions about anything related to photography or beyond, we can open that up later. But anything new with you?
Not much. I've been shooting a lot of stuff. Sam's not here right now. He's away.
Oh, yeah,
but,
Sam is away.
We just
He's-
did some video stuff up north in San Francisco.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm pretty good. I shot a wedding again. I haven't shot
Photo?
in a while. Yeah, photos. I did
Nice.
photos for my cousin. I actually should have sent you some photos. We could have looked at that. Well, we'll look at it later.
Yeah.
But yeah, I shot a wedding just on a whim for my cousin, like for fun. But used the XC2. It was fun. It was good. Getting back into it.
Nice. And you mentioned, not for photo, but for video, the ASC mentorship
Oh yeah,
you're in.
so I don't know if you guys know a lot about Hollywood and directors of photography, but there's this thing called the ASC. It's the American Society of Cinematographers. It's a big kind of cinematography guild for like film and video for movies and commercials and stuff. And so I just got in as a mentee. So I have a mentor that's in the ASC. He's done a bunch of second unit on a bunch of Hollywood films, and so I've been kind of hanging out at the clubhouse, meeting a lot of big cinematographers, and
That's
doing a
awesome.
ton of video and doing some photo for them too, and they're in their ASC masterclass. But yeah, you can check them out. It's at asc.com, but it's pretty big, pretty cool.
Hot stuff over here. That's
Yeah.
pretty cool. I've just been, as I mentioned, went to Udemy Live conference. That was just a
Was that mostly
quick.
for teachers, or is that like a?
It's all for teachers, but they had a student panel, which was really
Oh, that's
interesting
really
to hear just from the student perspective what they're looking for in classes. And my takeaway was just trying to go back to a lot of our existing courses and make them better, more engaging. And so, yeah, super excited.
I've
It just
always been curious-
re-inspires me.
I've always been curious about that too, and like maybe people can talk in the comments, but like we have older courses like our wedding photography course. Man, food photography. Like, would you guys
landscape,
would people
night.
want that updated, or is that something that, like, I don't know.
I mean, I think there's definitely ways we can improve them. And for
We've learned
anyone who is in those courses, as always, if there's ways we can improve those classes. I think a lot of our students are in the master class, and that's great because it's a great basis for everyone. We even dive into the specifics of things like portrait, landscape, night. But these other classes are just kind of additional content that hopefully we think go a little bit deeper In some of them, I think we should go a little bit deeper than they currently are. But if you're enjoying the masterclass and you want more content, we have all these other classes that you can check out. Just to get the comments going, post what camera you are currently using right now in the comments so we can see whether that's a DSLR, mirrorless, smartphone,
right now.
whatever. One quick update, which some of you might have seen in the group, is that we are trying to expand to other languages with our courses. And this is another thing I took away from Udemy Live, is just that Udemy itself is expanding to so many countries and in other languages. And so, especially with the masterclass, we're going to be translating it to other languages. We already have it in Spanish, Mandarin. We just launched it in Portuguese. And this is a professional translation with subtitles. I know different markets prefer either it being an audio dub or even re-recording itself. I think mostly we're looking at doing a translation with subtitles, or if that market really needs an audio dub or would prefer an audio dub, I would be open to doing that. But I don't personally know like what the different markets desire or what you are used to. So along with the survey that we posted in the course, I'm going to follow up. But if you want to go ahead and let us know in the comments of that post if you would prefer subtitles and audio dub, both, because we want to make this as easy and friendly to people who speak other languages as possible.
Yeah, as accessible as we can for people around the world, I think, is our goal.
Yeah. So, and just a note, if you do speaks Portuguese, since we just launched this course, if you are already in the English version of the class that doesn't have the professional Portuguese subtitles, we will be sending out an announcement soon where you can get free access to the Portuguese version. We're not going to make people pay twice to get the new versions.
Language, yeah.
Or you can just send us a message and I'll send you a coupon. So make sure you vote if you speak another language and would appreciate our courses translated. Top contributors of the month. We got someone new, I believe, on top. I'm sorry, I'm gonna butcher this pronunciation, but Aunit Donichi. Thank you so much for being one of our top contributors from the past month. John White, of course, familiar, coming back up to the top of the ranks. John Franco, Sammy, Anurag, Vicky, Abdullah, Nikki, Billy, Karen, thank you so much for helping to make this such an engaging group, not only posting your own photos, but commenting on everyone else's. And that's what's going to make this group even better, is commenting on other people's photos. That's what people join this group for. So if you're not doing it already, I ask that you just spend a minute or two every time you log on to Facebook or log on to the group and just share some feedback to another new photographer.
Paul said he's been slacking this month. Sorry, folks.
Paul, I know, not even in the top 10.
Dang.
I might have to take that t-shirt back.
Which one?
Ionit, though, I will be reaching out to you, and you can get a t-shirt from us. And so I'll be reaching out to you, and just so you know, in the future, if you're watching this, the person with who's the top contributor gets a free Photo and Friends t-shirt, and we'll be sending that to you soon.
That shirt looks good.
Oh yeah. Before we get into weekly challenges, I just want to read off some of these cameras that people are using.
Yeah.
What are people using?
We've got a lot of Nikon D3500, D750, D750. We got one Olympus EM1 MK2 by Mike. Got some Canons. Got a Sony A9 mirrorless T6i. There's one Fuji XS1.
Everyone's going to have a Fuji by the end of our whatever this is. Yeah.
D3100 for the moment. That's a great, the D3000, D3100, I use those, and those are cool. Those are cool little cameras. Yeah, I mean, we're kind of all over the place.
Cool.
But a lot of Nikons, a lot of Canons. There's some cool pics in there. Yeah, thanks, guys.
Nice. All right, so let's get into our photos, or the weekly challenge winners. So these are the photo adventures we post every Monday. And it's really a great way for you to practice your photography if you need a little inspiration on what to shoot. And so really we implore you to take part in them. And also, if you're posting a photo, or even if you don't post a photo, go through them and like the ones that you like best. And you can always find all of these posts, the most important ones that we share, in the announcements of the group. So the Something Shiny adventure, which was a couple weeks ago or last week, Sarah Midgley posted this awesome photo.
That's a cool one.
Definitely shiny, nice
The
lighting.
lights hitting it just right. It feels like you can kind of see like a almost like a slash going like that a little bit.
I don't even know what this is.
I think
It's like a little locket or something, necklace or
sort of. I don't know.
crown. But whatever it is, if you
looks
know what
smart.
this is, post it in the comments, because whatever it is, it looks like a piece of jewelry. Looks awesome. Sarah, thank you so much. Shoes. Take a picture of shoes. Shelton DeLima posted this awesome photo. Great colors.
I love the tones, the tonality, and the contrast to the like skin on the dark side, and then the leading lines. Like, there's a lot going on here.
Awesome shot. So thank you for that, Shelton. Sidewalk challenge. Douglas Yokomizu posted this one.
I would love to know
Beautiful.
what camera this came out of and how much post processing, because those colors are cool.
Yeah, the colors
they're
are
warm,
great. Yeah.
but they're cool.
Yeah. Nice sort of leading lines through this.
Good arch. Your eye kind of goes like into it.
Yeah, this one,
really cool.
A lot of people really like this photo. And for us in the Northern Hemisphere with fall coming or here, it's, a great photo with like changing colors of leaves. Vegetables. This was from last week, I believe.
Those are vegetables.
Amit Keshri, up above photo, flat lay photo with your vegetables. Yeah. Nice, very good, very good.
Smart.
So thank you, Amit, for this one. And I think this is our last one. Backseat view, Christopher Hayes. I think I have an extra E there. This was a great photo. I believe he said this was in Switzerland, which it looks like Switzerland, right? So really cool photo. And nice exposure of exposing to what's outside
I feel like
the
usually
car.
you get something like this and the outside's either blown out or the inside's like gone.
Yeah,
Like,
for sure.
This is a good level exposure.
Yeah.
Maybe it's because it's so cloudy out there.
Bob just asked if there will be a replay, if anyone has to leave early. You can always come back to the same link and watch the replay. And we also like to post them on our YouTube channel. If you search for Phil Ebener, you can find my YouTube channel and I'll post it there. But if you're in the group, you can just come back to this post or search in the group for live stream, and you can find replays for all of our past ones as well. So thank you for everyone who has posted a photo. This is supposed to say Night Lights photo competition, but let's get into the Night Lights photo competition winners. We got our bronze, silver, and gold prizes, and then also what we did this time was we chose some of our personal favorites to add to the list. So again, this was the Night Lights photo competition from September, and this is you voting for the winner. So let's get into our bronze prize.
So good.
In third place, and we had a lot of votes this time, more than last competition, so thank you for everyone who was voting. Mike, who posted this amazing photo. I don't know where this is, but up above.
Mediterranean somewhere.
Yeah. It seems like it. Yeah, with the architecture, a little bay or inlet.
Very Pirates of the Caribbean.
Mm-hmm.
But good color mixing, good exposure, like wonderful composition. Like, I don't know, that's good. It looks cool.
Yeah. So congrats, Mike. And these do get cash prizes. So definitely take part in our photo competitions next time. So Mike was in third place. In second place, we got Maria.
This is epic.
This one is so cool.
I saw this and like I mean, I get that it's using a light bar or something, right?
Yeah.
Like, I've never been able to figure out how to do that.
I mean, this is, so you got to have someone behind them with the light bar doing a long exposure.
And they're frozen.
They're frozen.
It's not like they're in the
Because
middle
there's,
of the dance, right?
because it would be like a long exposure.
That
Unless
alone-
it was, overlaid, but
that alone takes so much work. to just stay frozen like that. But it's so great how you can see how the light is wrapping around their bodies.
Yeah.
And like just that amount of exposure is getting on the shapes of their bodies, giving them like a lot of shape. And the shadow that's facing us is like contoured. That's cool.
Beautiful. And I think the number of votes was off for this one, but it was definitely a little higher. So this is in second place. So if anyone likes these photos, make sure you hit that like button to share some love for these photographers. And in first place, we have Nadine, who has this nice overlooking the freeway shot. So great use of long exposure.
Always those streaks are always popular.
And Nadine had quite a bit more votes. So Nadine, you did a great job with your photo and maybe getting your friends to vote for you, which you can definitely do in these competitions. So congratulations to Nadine for winning our first place prize. Now, I also want to get into some of our favorites because as much as I would like to share all of these photos with you, there are I think there were over almost 200 photos submitted. And here are just a few that caught our eyes as we were going through. These two from Kathleen and Casey, very similar. Let me get our video out of the way so you can kind of see. Very similar idea, but just great use of using the stars as a backdrop and having a subject in the foreground. I think a lot of us would maybe just take a picture of the stars, but having the couples in the foreground silhouetted is...
I like how Kathleen got a little bit lower, too. You can kind of tell the angles a little bit, whereas Casey didn't, but Casey's shot is vertical, so you want to get the whole Milky Way.
And what a great... I mean, that took a lot of work for Casey to place the
right where the light is.
Yeah, right where the light is, and use that to really silhouette them in the background, which is awesome. So this is, then we got a couple more. This one just caught my eye.
That's cool.
Sizeworup Nyack. So this one, just like this idea of night lights, I think was pretty creative. I didn't really see any other ones like this. But yeah, I don't know if those moths or what.
It's incredibly unique. I think that would make a really cool poster, or like a movie poster.
Yeah, right? It does. Yeah. Maybe with you could faintly see a figure in the background or something coming through.
It's great that it's centered.
But it's cool because the light is just reflecting off all of these moths or bugs or whatever they are. And
what's it say at the top?
Peace Spreader.
Oh.
I'm not sure if that's their watermark or what.
Interesting.
So this was a good one, and then last one that really caught my eye, Alex Lee,
this one's dope.
from Salvation Mountain, which is
too far from us.
That's out in the desert. But again, just the creativity with the light, I guess
that's got to be a little pink flashlight that they're running around.
Something, running around the car. Long exposure, you got the stars in the sky. Funky but cool edit with the colors. Just the balance of the contrast of warm colors to cool colors is always nice in these kinds of photos. So super cool photo right here. I think this was one of my favorites for sure.
It's going to be hard to do. That's a hard shot to get.
Yeah. So Alex, congrats. That's a dope photo. So again, thank you to everyone who posted a photo. As always, we're ready for another competition. I think, should we do one in November? If I can get it set up, we'll have one in November. Let us know in the comments right now if you want a competition in November or December. And let us know if you have ideas for what the competition should be. We will also maybe post a poll in the group later with some of those ideas to get a general kind of consensus for what people want. So what's next? What is next? What's next is our camera chat, which is today is when to ditch your camera for a smartphone. And this is just, I guess, inspired because the new iPhone 11 Pro came out with...
This one?
Yes, that one right there. That has the 3 lenses, and I don't know if there's other cameras that have the 3 lenses right now.
I'm bad on keeping up with with mobile photography, smartphone stuff.
We're so Apple
but this
over
is
here.
definitely like a progressive camera from what it used to be. Yeah.
Yeah, and so the iPhone 11 Pro has the wide angle lens, the more telephoto lens, and then just the standard lens, which up until now, some cameras have 2 lenses, but if you want a super wide lens, there wasn't really an option for a super wide angle. And then if you want like a more telephoto shot, you're zooming in digitally, which isn't that good. So I guess my question to everyone, if you're watching and want to participate, is just when is the right time to take a leave your DSLR mirrorless camera at home and just take your smartphone.
It feels like a rough balance for me, especially for us because we have cameras and we're using them all so much, and you and I have mirrorless cameras, so they're even smaller. But an example of this, and I was telling you earlier, is I went to Europe for a little bit to do a part of the Camino de Santiago just for a few days again, and a big part of it is just like not having the weight. Yeah. And being present. And I was going with a friend for a specific reason, and I wanted to be there with my friend even while we're walking. And you can do that with the camera, I think. But I think for me personally, I was very much, I thought a lot about this. I am going to go on this trip to this exotic place that I'm never there at, and I'm not going to take a camera, and I'm going to rely on my smartphone.
Yeah.
And try and be more present, try and be there, but then also have the ability to take photos decent photos with my iPhone. And I did take some pretty cool photos with just my iPhone. If you go to my Instagram, there's this really nice black and white shot of my backpack in the hostel that I took. So you kind of have to hunt and I think be more specific about what you're shooting and maybe require more posts. But I don't know, it felt really good for me to be able to just have the camera in my pocket and not have to worry about charging a battery, taking an extra lens, having the strap against me as I was hiking. I also felt better about leaving my backpack and my stuff in the hostel when I walked out or when I was on the street, or I felt like it was late at night. I didn't have something expensive with me. So I don't know. There's so many different options, but I think it's such a personal.
I mean, I think too, there's obviously the professional times when you would need to take out your professional camera. If you're actually doing event photography or any sort of professional photography, taking out your iPhone. I mean, someday it might be as good, but it's still not as good yet.
Yeah, there's different levels of it, right? Like a professional, if you show up to a wedding and you're like, I got my phone, they're gonna be like, what?
Yeah, right.
I didn't pay you, because they just mentally are like, whatever.
Yeah.
But that being said, there have been times where I've been at a wedding and I'll just be on my phone and someone will let their guard down because my camera's not up, and I can just bring my phone up and get something really awesome. So, it's a balance, for sure.
So just a reminder for people who are watching, how do we get that view? Our
camera talk is about ditching the camera for a smartphone.
Yes, is when should you even for me, should I upgrade to a newer smartphone to get a better camera so that I can use that in different situations? Because right now, I mean, I love my Fuji X-T2. I've loved it for the past year plus for just having around the house. But sometimes going out, I don't bring it. And my smartphone is the iPhone 6, I think. So it's pretty old. And I'm just wondering, is it worth it to upgrade to the 11? It's like $1,000 though.
Yeah, well, you gotta get. I mean, okay. So here's my thing about smartphones: is that phone I use more than anything.
Yeah.
I use that phone more than I wear certain pairs of underwear. That phone I use.
Yeah, but you don't pay $1,000 for underwear.
Yeah, but I'm using that phone more than anything, right? I use it more than my laptop. I use it more than my cameras. I use it more than my computer. I use it more than my shoes. I use it more than my cars.
Yeah.
And cars are way more expensive. I use that thing constantly.
Yeah.
For whether it's social media, writing emails, doing work, staying in touch with family, taking photos, editing photos, it's just everything. So for me to put money into something that is constantly updated and quick and the best that it can be, that's my philosophy behind it, I guess.
Yeah.
And you can write it off because business
Yeah.
expense. But at the same time, like this camera has been awesome when I'm out like on the lake, or like I went wakeboarding this weekend and I didn't want to take my camera out because people were messing around on the boat and like. But I got some really cool wakeboarding shots with this.
Yeah.
Just out in the phone, and it's water resistant and
Yeah.
proof, pretty much. I could dunk it in water and take some cool photos. Like, I don't know. It's just it's definitely like a personal preference sort of thing. But I think there are times when I can instantly be like, I don't need to bring a camera.
I think for me, with the addition of the wide angle lens and the telephoto lens, it's
The
like,
wide angle is cool.
well, we're gonna show some pictures, and someone asked here about wide angle lenses and when would that be needed, what type of lens is needed, and
Right.
it's of course different if you're using a DSLR or mirrorless camera, but basically, I mean, I don't know what the rule is with like field of view, but a wide angle lens is where you can see more, where it's wider, and so typically this is 10 millimeter to 24 millimeter.
The iPhone feels, to me, on a 35 millimeter sensor, 35 equivalent, to me, it feels like it's around a 14, like a 14, 16, 12 in that area. Whereas the normal lens on it feels more like a 35. Like this is the zoomed in one.
So this is the telephoto lens.
And so no, this is the telephoto lens, which I'm sitting on the back of a boat, and also this is a still that I shot while taking a video. So this is a video that's happening, and as you're taking a video on the new operating system, there has a little button that you can push to take a photo while you're videoing.
Yeah, that's.
But I mean, come on.
Yeah.
He's a little soft for sure.
But like
but
this
look at
is
the
all.
sharpness
This
of
is
the-
even on like a big screen right now, and so if you're like
Yeah.
sharing this on Instagram or whatever, it's like the detail in this photo is pretty incredible.
And for me, not wanting to risk the investment that I've made in all my photo equipment, because I was getting in and out of the water, I didn't want to bring all my, and there was like 6 dudes on this boat. Like, I don't want to bring out all my stuff. Although I could have, and I probably could have gotten an even better shot. I was just trying to be in the moment. I was trying to relax. I work for photography a lot, so for me, putting away the big camera and just being in there, but still being able to take a shot like this.
And as Paul mentions, like you don't need a bag of rice when
Don't
you're going out on a boat like this.
Mizu bag of rice. No.
Likes for whoever knows
Gets
gets
that
that. But back to like just the wide angle.
So that's
lens,
not the wide angle though. Yeah, that's
when
just
you would want that is a lot for landscape
Landscapes.
photography or even for group shots. I'm not sure how. I think let's see one of those. We'll see a wide angle shot in a second. Is
This
this
one's
one?
wide angle, yeah.
This one's wide angle.
This one's not only wide angle, but has the night mode in it too.
See that's another difference too. Is with the new cameras, it's so much better than mine at low light or night photography.
Yeah, so this is at sunset. Obviously, the sun has set behind this lake. It's a
Yeah.
wide angle. The iPhone has optical stabilization and is even better on the wide angle, right? Because it's got more room. I think it's a little fuzzy and a little murky in the blacks on the right and the left.
Yeah.
But this shot as a wide angle, I think this is unprocessed. This is straight out of the camera. Like this looks.
Yeah. So for landscapes, for those kinds of
Pretty good.
images, wide angle lens is great.
Oh, so something else I discovered on the new phones is that's a portrait shot. You know they have portrait mode.
Yeah.
They have wide portrait shot now.
Oh, cool.
So
See,
you know how
that's cool.
sometimes the portrait mode on the newer iPhones, and I don't know about the Pixels, I'm sure they're good too, but they're too close. Now
Yeah.
you can kind of step back. So the one on the left is a wide portrait mode, and the one on the right is a close portrait mode. So you can see how it drops. I mean, the algorithm and the way it creates things, the bokeh, the out of focusness in the background, has become so advanced in these iPhones. But both these shots are me like planting, taking a second, taking the photo. For an event or something like that, I don't think this is always going to be fast enough.
Yeah.
The image on the right is we used Leica Summicrons on this commercial that I shot last week, which are really beautiful, sharp lenses. You can see the sound guy in the background with his headphones on.
Yeah.
But that's on our Arri Alexa bigger camera. I just really like those lenses, so I thought I'd take a shot. But I don't know. It just...
I mean, it is pretty incredible. I mean, there
the
is
color rendition is
imperfection though.
Yeah,
this
you can
cable
see-
here is
totally.
the iPhone thought should be out of focus.
and you can never get that back. So if you go shoot that, like I can't really make that cable. I can't really put that in focus.
I think there's a third-party app that you can actually adjust the focus. I was watching
That
a
would be
video from someone who said that there's a third-party app that you can actually adjust the focus of your photos now for the portrait mode,
Right.
which would help with that, and you could fix things like that.
And you can decide where and how much.
But obviously, that's like an extra step. Whereas if you were taking this photo with a DSLR or your mirrorless camera, you wouldn't have to do that as long as you got the focus right.
Yeah. Look at that shot of Danny's drinking a White Claw.
But yeah, I love it. I love his hat too. But I mean, for the quality you're getting, like this is pretty freaking incredible.
That I was shooting the guy wakeboarding, and then I switched to the portrait and shot that. Like, and then here we are later in the day.
This is with the wide angle lens.
This is with the wide angle lens.
Definitely tell. See, like with
totally
people,
bowing, yeah.
You got the bowing on the side, but
which I hate. Which
yeah.
This is distorting this man's face on the bottom left.
Yeah.
Which is not great.
Yeah.
And this is the only reason I used it is so we could get everyone in the shot.
Right.
This is fine. It's for record keeping. I'm not planning on printing this or submitting it to a.
I think that's the thing. I guess you'd have to be careful with that lens, the wide angle for portraits of people. But
when you get too close to people, unless you're trying to do something crazy, but also I think this is gnarly too. I'm shooting directly into the sun.
Yeah, that is pretty crazy.
And everything is there.
Yeah.
Without processing, without anything, and it looks, aside from the distortion in the lens, everything looks natural.
I was watching some other videos. Here's another one.
This is a sunset right outside my apartment in LA.
The dynamic range of the colors, it is pretty epic. I was watching a couple videos of people comparing the iPhone 11 to their DSLR, and they were doing like a test, like, oh, can you tell the difference? And I think I actually got all 5. They did like 5 comparisons, and I got all 5 right. I knew which one was the iPhone, which one.
We're specialty.
But for most people, for most people, they're not gonna know. And just to have it in your pocket and to be able to take photos like this, that's pretty dope.
Yeah, I was just walking down the street to move my car, and I was like, you know what? I'm gonna test the wide angle. And again, you can see the distortion and the softness.
Yeah.
In places, but the colors are there. Like,
yeah,
that's a cool quick shot, and I put it right back in my pocket.
Marvin says that the Galaxy Note 10 also has 3 cameras. I think it's probably going to be a thing now with most
mobile phones that are coming out that are good are going to be good.
Yeah, they're going to have that. So let's get to our live Q&A.
Yeah.
So for people who have stuck around, thank you for being here. For anyone who's watching live now, thank you for being here. So we're going to open it up to questions. So if you have questions for us, we'll cover anything.
We're a little delayed, so we got to get the comments to catch up a little bit. Here's one. I have a shoot, nothing paid, just for fun, upcoming November 16th from 5 girls. Any tips? Upcoming from 5 girls. I'm not sure what...
maybe it's just like a group shot.
Portrait shots, or 5 people, or modeling. I don't know. For me, like when I have like a shoot coming up, that's something like that. The big thing for me is the night before, the day before, is to just go through all my equipment. Make sure everything's functioning. Look up photos to be inspired by. Look up posing. Just kind of be prepared, but then also be ready to be off the cuff if you have to like shoot stuff.
Yeah.
Think about where you're shooting, the lighting, the daytime, what time of day it is, all that stuff.
I would definitely like come up with have some inspirational setups, whether it's a couple or a group, have some poses in your mind that you want to do. Or even like take some photos or download some photos that you see online as inspiration. If you're in the photography masterclass, you have access to a little downloadable guide that has like 100 different posing ideas that you can download to your phone. And sometimes that's good for when I've done sessions with people, is just for me to know, okay, here's something that I want them to look like, instead of being there in the moment and trying to figure it out, or even being able to show them and be like, hey, this is what we're going for. If it's something very specific,
it says
sometimes that can help.
Portraits and individuals, in the moment pictures, and it'll be in the forest. Yeah, I think looking at posing beforehand and having an idea of exactly what you want to do is the best thing to do, and then making sure you know what lens you want to take and what f-stop you want to be shooting at. Going into it, because then while you're fumbling and trying to figure it out, that may look a little less professional, but yeah, I mean, if you're already getting those jobs, I feel like you probably know what you're doing. Just get prepared, make sure your equipment's running, and have some posing and thoughts.
Marvin adds, I think, about the smartphone conversation that having the raw photos versus JPEG and editing those is a downside for the
mobile.
smartphone. For sure. And I don't know when the smartphone's raw photos are going to be, I guess, comparable or... I mean, are they close?
I mean, the mobile phones to me have always felt kind of like a GoPro. Like,
yeah,
the dynamic range is so all already there, and they're meant
yeah.
for people that aren't going to process them.
Yeah.
So their want to go in and make raw images is not really...
I mean, you think about like the sensor size for this, whatever the sensor is for this camera, it's got to be tiny compared to if you look at the
Even
sensor.
APC, full
it's
frame.
It's going to be way huger. So the amount of information you're getting with a regular camera is a lot more, but
so you have more power
it's closer.
In post, you'll have more power doing raw. Always. Yeah. I really like this question. Do you find yourself sticking to a certain aperture and just adjusting shutter speed for pics?
That's a good question.
That's an awesome question that I've been dealing with my entire life. I stick with an f-stop depending on my situation. If I'm doing portraits and I'm using a longer lens, I will try to shoot at like a 2.8 or a 4 so that I know their nose and their eye will be in focus, and then I'll just pick whatever shutter. However, if I'm shooting sports, I need the shutter to be high enough that I can freeze the sport. Mm-hmm. So in that case, I'll pick the shutter, and then I'll try and open up f-stop as much as I can to get that depth, especially if I'm far away. So it really just depends on the situation you're doing. I think more often than not, you're going to be picking the f-stop, deciding what you want it to look like. If you're shooting a landscape and you want everything to be in focus, you're going to pick an f16. You're going to be on a tripod. The shutter won't matter. If you're shooting low light, you're probably going to want to be wide open as you can, and then you need a lower shutter. So it just really depends on what you're shooting. But more often than not, I'm thinking about the f-stop before the shutter.
I agree. I think the only thing I'll add, which I don't know if you said, was like sometimes when I'm taking pictures of my kids and I need the shutter speed to be faster, I'll set my shutter speed to like 1/125th or something, and then I'll either just allow the ISO to be on auto, or then I'll adjust the aperture afterwards to get the exposure right. But yeah, same here. I'm usually at like an f4, f5.6 for my aperture, and then going from there.
Yeah, cool.
I think for a long time I was always opening up, and sometimes I do open up to whatever the widest my aperture goes to, but now like I find those photos, like the focus is always a little soft.
Sometimes it's a little much. That 1.2 56 mil Fuji that we have, that focus is like...
Yeah.
So sometimes you gotta go higher.
We had a question up above about the Fuji XS1.
Really?
Where is this?
It'd be up further now.
No.
Might be on your thing. I never saw.
Oh, weird. Maybe it got deleted or something. But I thought I saw a question about a Fuji XS1. How's the XS1? I've never used it. I actually didn't really know much about it. It looks like it's a bridge camera that has a lens that's stuck on it. I'm not sure what the price is that you are...
It's an older camera.
Yeah, so it's 12 megapixels. So I would say at this point, I would probably look into something else, because I think your money could go a little further with one of the newer Fujis or even one of the other DSLRs from, like, entry-level DSLRs from Canon or Nikon. I'm not sure what's the Fuji XA1 or Fuji XT10?
10 or XT30. XT30 would be probably on that level of that now.
Yeah.
Because Fuji got away from that system, the XS.
Yeah.
And moved into the XTs.
Yeah.
And that's kind of where they're at. Okay. Just signed up for Udemy class and have not started. I'm hoping to go over this, but how quickly should I jump into buying an expensive camera versus keeping the cheaper camera I've had for a few years and not really used?
That's a great question. I mean, I think what we always say, and you'll hear in our classes, is that it doesn't matter what camera you have. You can take a great photo with any camera. So don't buy a new camera thinking it's going to make you a better photographer. I would say use your camera, your existing camera.
Learn how to use it.
Learn how to use it.
With it.
Learn how to take amazing photos with it, because I believe you can, and I know you can. But maybe it's once you start, whether you want to go professional or not, like that's one thing. If you do want to go professional, maybe that's when you make that jump to a more expensive camera and some better lenses. Of course, it also depends on what camera you have. Maybe investing in better lenses is the first thing to do.
Lenses will follow you with your camera system versus the camera won't necessarily follow.
Yeah. So
I think man, I was just thinking what you said. It was just really inspiring.
I mean, the other thing is, like, at the end of the day, sometimes we make decisions to buy a new camera to inspire us to go out and take photos, and that might not be the best reason the best reason to get a new camera, but it is a reason. And it's I would say a valid reason is if you have the money, of course, to do it.
I think also it's great that you're starting the class too, because really my favorite part about seeing people go through our class is that we hit a range of stuff. Like we cover all sorts of different photography, and so if you already have a camera and you're starting to shoot and get more into it, you're going to discover what types of photography you like more than others. So that might inform you on what you want to buy.
Yeah.
So if you want to buy if you're into portraits, you might want to focus on getting like a portrait lens, or landscapes, get wide lens. And so you'll see as you do and you shoot more, you will understand what you want more.
Yeah. Marvin says he's was hired. Congrats to shoot the upcoming New York City Marathon.
Oh, rad.
He's taking the D7500 with a Tamron 18-400 and a Nikon 50mm prime.
Yeah.
Any setting suggestions?
Tamron 18-400. That's probably an f4 or even a 5.6.
Yeah.
Which, if you're outside marathon, perfectly fine.
And with people running too, you're gonna want to hire a smaller aperture, so a higher f-stop, which I would think you would probably be on that lens for a lot of the day.
I think the 18-400 is going to be your go-to lens all day. I would say you're going to want the faster shutter to freeze the action of people running. So, 5, 6, or 4 is probably fine in perfect daylight. The 750 is a great full-frame camera. The Nikon 50 Prime is a rad lens. I think maybe once the marathon's done and over with, you can walk around and do portraits with people with the 50 mil.
Yeah.
That might be easier than the big honkin' 400, 18-400. But I would say more often than not, I'm on a lens like the 18-400 for events like that, mostly so that I can step back and photojournalist it, so people don't see that you're taking pictures of them, and you can capture those moments.
Yeah.
More so than the 50. The 50 you have to get up a little bit closer.
Yeah.
I think that's a D750, 18-400, 50 millimeter.
Yeah, I think if you have a chance to just test it out, make sure that at that time of day with the lighting, that cranking up your shutter speed a bit. Probably you'll have to do a couple tests at the beginning, or if not beforehand, to see what shutter speed you want to be on, so that you're not getting motion blur with the runners, unless you want that for some sort of style thing. And then with whatever aperture you need to keep everything in focus. I think that's the hardest thing. If you haven't shot running before, or action is just getting people in focus, that's going to be the hardest thing.
Yeah, and 750's got pretty quick, autofocus.
Laura asks, when shooting in RAW, where can you get prints? I find the size is too big.
Oh, yeah. If you're trying to get raw prints, that's not going to work. You need to export them to JPEGs.
Yeah, you would want to export to JPEG. Right?
Yeah. What I did, actually, I just printed a canvas. I should have brought it in. Anyway, I got a 23 by 30 canvas print of some palm trees, and it was taken with a Canon raw image, and I converted it to JPEG, made sure it was 300 DPI because I'm getting it large, and the JPEG was plenty of information for the print house to print.
Yeah, if you're in the master class, we have a section on printing, and I think we go over the sizes and DPI and stuff. But the other thing with raw images is sometimes it's not as sharp, so you do need to add even just a little bit of processing, which will automatically happen if you're using Lightroom, for example, it automatically will add some sharpening to raw images because raw images just end up being a little bit unsharp. And with the colors and everything, you might want to just export it to JPEG anyways.
And if you're taking it to a print house or you're taking it to like a Costco or a drugstore or something, chances are they have a kiosk and they just won't be able to read your raw images. Like JPEG is a universal reading thing, and it's plenty of information as long as you export it correctly.
Yeah.
But again, in the class, I think we go over like how to do that.
Yep. Cool.
What else?
And thank you again for everyone who has submitted photos for the backdrop. You actually haven't seen this in our live stream yet. We extended the backdrop around. So you've probably seen some videos of me in the group, but yeah, now it's fully around us.
I've been staring at this palm tree one that's like mirrored a lot.
Yeah, that one's cool, huh?
That one, yeah.
Yeah.
They're really cool.
I wish there was like an automatic way where we can like point to a photo and then it would like say who shot that photo.
I'd get a mid-range camera, 5600, your money in the glass. Yep, that's a great way to do things, Marvin. Paul says the course teaches you the fundamentals, so you'd be better suited to choose what works for you after it's finished. Yep, that's also true, Paul. Thank you. Is it best to always shoot in RAW? Yes.
Yeah, I mean, for me, because often you can shoot RAW plus JPEG.
I do that all the time.
So that you can quickly have access to the JPEGs if you want to transfer that to your phone. Most cameras allow you to do that via Bluetooth or Wi-Fi now, so you can just quickly share them. But it's always nice to have that RAW image for backup, archival, for editing.
It's just going to get you more information later.
Yeah.
Like if for some reason you take a shot and the blacks are gone or the highlights are blown out or whatever, that later on you can come back in and maybe you can save those. At least you'll have a better chance of saving those than you would with a JPEG.
Yeah.
If you're not going to do any post-processing, then yeah, sure, shoot JPEG. Fuji, all the Fuji cameras, this is just coming from me because I love Fuji, they have looks that are already built in that will bake into your JPEGs, and then you won't need to do any processing. But as photographers and as you're an artist and a craft, you should really learn how to take the raw image, get into post-processing and using your raw image to make it what you want to make it and spending the time doing that, because that's the art of photography.
Great. If we get through all these questions, I want to chat about the Fuji X Pro 3 really quick.
Yes, please. I'd love to. Okay. Any tips for keeping 3-year-olds happy while trying to shoot them with
I don't have 3-year-olds yet. I have 14-month-olds.
They're generally happy all the time. I'm bad at that. I'm bad at that too.
I mean, if you're not a parent, then I think this is the hardest part. I don't know what a 3-year-old would be like. I can only assume that bringing toys. I mean, even for like our kids, we've like used like dog squeak toys to like squeak behind the camera to get them to look. That's tough. I think you kind of have to depend on the parent to help you out.
We're not necessarily portrait kid photographers, but the ones that I've talked to, they all have tricks. Might be a good Google question. Unfortunately, we don't shoot kids that much. But
yeah, maybe it's something that we could also maybe bring in someone who's better at.
I know that the times that
I've
done weddings there's a small kid. I'll usually have my assistant or my second shooter just play with them, get to know their names, and just try and help distract them and stand next to me the whole entire time.
Yeah.
Or I've learned how to make noises, and they tend to like.
Yeah. I want to do a quick sneak preview though before we get to more questions.
Ooh.
So this is something that we've been working on in the background, and I know we've mentioned in the group that we just want to make Photography and Friends a better resource for everyone. So there is a website that's starting to come together. It's not live yet, but I just want to show people just so people can get a little excited.
It's looking good.
Just because I want it. I think it's tying everything together. So here's just a quick sneak peek at what the current idea is for the website, really as just a resource for people. So you go to the homepage, you've got the sort of backdrop with the photos, kind of tying everything together. I'm thinking that it will have a combination of guides where you can go and if you're searching for a specific thing, like what's aperture, what does dynamic range mean, any sort of question you would have, we would have a specific guide. We would be doing and having all of our videos, such as editing tutorials or other videos we do, in one place to access. And then, of course, having an easy place to get access to this community on Facebook. I don't know if the Start Here page has anything, actually. Oh, yeah. So, and then another idea was that for anyone who's new to photography, there's the Start Here page where you go, and then it has kind of a lesson by lesson approach that's very similar to our masterclass, and it would actually include some free previews of some of the lessons we have in the masterclass as a way to just get into photography. And these are like basic lessons that you would need to know if you are a new photographer. And then the guides doesn't have anything, but this is where you would have, and it would be searchable by topic, basics, cameras, color, composition, exposure, lighting, gear, and this would have kind of any sort of guide that we've put out, even more sort of tutorials, videos, that kind of stuff. So I don't know. Let us know what you think in the comments if this is, if you like this, if you think we should continue working on this.
I love this part. This was my favorite part. I just feel like if there's something that you're thinking of that you just need to get to right away, quickly, you can get here and figure it out.
I think like maybe there's a space for like a page with just definitions where people, if we say aperture or ISO or whatever, wide angle lens, you can just get a quick like definition of what that is. And then these would hopefully kind of, if you're searching for composition, the tags aren't all there, but
it's getting there.
Yeah. So this is what we've been working on in the back end. Ideally, I would love to have this launched by the new year with some basic tutorials and stuff.
Will there be a photo submission option for feedback? Oof.
That would be, that was we posted a survey asking people like what kind of content would they like to see, and that was an idea, was more sort of feedback, and I think that's definitely something that in the future, as we kind of come out with a schedule of content, having like submissions where we can like actually critique them or something.
I think that'd be great. It's just a lot of submissions because there's so many of us.
Yeah, I mean we'd have to do videos with like 5 photos or something, 10 photos each, and
totally.
But I love the idea.
I'd be into that.
Anyways, I just want to share that.
Very excited about it.
Cool. So more questions. Yeah. We got like 5-10 minutes left, so we'll kind of crank through.
Are there
these.
downsides besides less space for pictures to shoot RAW plus JPEG? That's all it is. It just takes up more space.
Yeah.
I think maybe if you're shooting like 11 frames per second or 15 frames per second, depending on what camera you have, it might slow it down eventually. But I shoot RAW and JPEG. That's like standard for me. I always have 2 cards in my camera, and one gets RAW, one gets JPEG.
And memory cards are pretty cheap nowadays.
It becomes for me, it becomes like a backup. Like the JPEGs are just a backup. Yeah. And so the RAWs go in my computer. We're good. We clear the cards. Next shoot. Yeah. I like Lightroom CC for portability across devices and Lightroom Classic for robustness. Is there a way to work in Lightroom Classic and be able to see it in Lightroom CC? You can import files over Lightroom CC to Lightroom Classic, but not vice versa. I've never had to deal with that.
That's a good question because I've never done that workflow.
Yeah.
Lightroom Classic to
Lightroom Classic
CC.
and be able to see it in Lightroom CC. Why don't you work on that and I'll keep going down the questions. Any tips on animal photography? Wild, not domestic. My focus is always a bit soft. The focus aspect of that, it might be because your f-stop is too wide open. I think when you're shooting wild photography, you already should be shooting on a long lens, like a 200, 400, even 600, and that will get you your depth. So you don't need to worry about like a 2.8 or a 1.4 or anything like that. Shoot it like a 5.6, shoot it an 8, shoot an 11 even. And because you're at 400 millimeters or because you're at 600 millimeters, you'll still get that professional looking depth. That would be my tip. And just make sure that your camera's autofocus is working and you're used to it and you know how it functions, because once you get used to that, you kind of becomes like, it's like you're writing with light. So that would be my tip for that.
I'm replying to Stefan in the comments about the Lightroom Classic to CC with a workflow. So just
50 millimeter for portrait and group. 50 millimeter is great for portrait stuff. Little tough to shoot groups. I'd say over 3 people, 50 millimeter is tough because you're gonna start to like get further and further away from your subject. What's the best alternative to Photoshop? I mean, outside of Lightroom,
in terms of Photoshop, like Affinity Photo or Affinity Designer is nice, and that's nice because you don't have to pay like a yearly subscription or monthly subscription. In terms of alternatives to Lightroom,
he just has Photoshop, but
Affinity Photo or Capture One is another editing. There's so many editing apps. It depends on what you want to do, but
yeah, or if you're editing on your phone, I'd say Snapseed or VSCO, just basic editing stuff.
yeah.
Paul and Anita do not see their photo on your wall.
Ooh,
Just throwing that out.
that might be true. I wasn't able to put up all the photos.
Yeah. Any alternative free photo editing software worth using? Is Affinity free?
No, Affinity is not free, but like you said, for your smartphone, VSCO or Snapseed
Those
are
are free.
great. I'm trying to think what free options. I should really know this.
We should look into that. I've used Lightroom and Photoshop professionally.
Do
so
any
much
of you
that-
guys use a free GIMP? GIMP is a great alternative, free alternative to Photoshop actually, but it's almost like Photoshop and GIMP are too robust to be editing a ton of photos. I wouldn't use it for
really?
editing photos.
But
really.
this is what's so great about this group. This is not something that we know, but ask the community. What do you guys use for free editing software?
Yeah.
We don't know everything. I love my 750 with 2 card slots, 1 RAW, 1 JPEG, redundant. Yep, Marvin, same thing. Let's see. Will there be a photo submission? Oh, we're back in here. Awesome. When does it go live? Can't wait for it.
Oh, hopefully start of the year, next year.
Is there a course or one close enough for using the Nikon photo editing software?
Ooh, not us. Yeah, we don't have
Not us
that.
and not yet.
Not yet.
Maybe we include that in that one class we were talking about.
Yeah, because we are thinking about doing a Nikon specific class.
Like the color website.
Add more color to website,
I've
Laura.
gotten I've gotten great feedback and help from the group. That's really up to my game. That's awesome, dude.
Thank you for letting us know that.
That's
Thank
good.
you to everyone.
It's good to hear. Do you think there must-have lenses all photographers should have, regardless of their style or genre? That's a great question, dude. I'd say the 35 is like, or 35 equivalent is like the like standard lens that every photographer I think should have. 35, 50.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to say because it's like depends on what you want to shoot. But I mean, I would say some sort of wide angle lens too, because I use that for landscape photography. But if you're not into landscape,
Yeah, honestly, like the Canon and Nikon have their 24 to 70s. Fuji has a 16 to 58. So like a mid-range zoom at 2.8, you could never go wrong with. I mean, we're shooting this on the Canon 24 to 70 right now, 2.8.
yeah,
Like that's just a standard mid-range zoom.
yeah.
Good to have. Paul says he has dark table, but he does not know.
Oh
how to use
yeah, dark table. Yeah, I've heard of that one.
it. How do you choose an upgrade camera? Maybe this is a good segue into talking about the X Pro 3.
I need to get into dark table. Okay, XP Pro 3. Okay, so sorry, what was the question?
How do you choose an upgrade camera?
Okay, yeah. So, okay, when do you upgrade cameras? That's a great question.
Excited about it.
So, lay the scene. What is the X Pro 3 and why would anybody want a camera like it?
All right, listen. Fuji has put out 2 sort of mirrorless options for people. One's a rangefinder style, one's sort of a DSLR looking style.
What's a rangefinder?
A rangefinder back in the day was there's a lens here and then the optic was over here on the left, and you would have to find the range of the focus by understanding the depth, sort of. It's complicated, but basically the eyepiece was like to the left of the lens, and so you just looked straight out of the camera. There was no mirror for you to go look through the actual.
It's just like a
lens.
window through
Just
the
a window.
Kind of like, you know, if you get a disposable camera.
It's exactly like a disposable camera versus
Yeah.
a professional SLR, single lens reflex, which would have a mirror where the light would come through the lens, bounce off the mirror, up to there, and then into your eye.
Yeah.
So those are the differences, right? So Fuji creates a rangefinder style that looks like a rangefinder style and and an SLR style which looks like an SLR. Those are the Fuji XT1, the XT2, and the XT3. We shoot on the XT2. The rangefinders are called the X Pro 1, X Pro 2, and now the X Pro 3 that's coming out. With Fuji's, all the 3s, which is XT3, X Pro 3 now, and then the XT30, which is like the cheaper version of the XT3, all have the same sensor. It's something with a 3, but they're all on the same level. So they came out with X Pro 3. I have an XT2. I've been thinking about upgrading to an XT3 because autofocus is faster, higher megapixels, not by much, but I want a silver camera. There's just like
That's the worst reason to upgrade a camera.
Faster reason. It's faster. The autofocus is much faster than the XT2, but I've been kind of holding off.
So is the X Pro 3 is it just a window, or are you looking
So the
through
X Pro 3 has just been announced.
Yeah.
It's coming out next month to purchase. It's rangefinder style. It has a window that you can look through, but it also is hybrid. So it does have an electronic EVF inside that same window.
Oh, so you can change it.
So you can actually switch it back and forth.
Okay.
So you can go from just seeing natural, what's in front of you, to seeing the EVF and having a preview of what's coming in, like the other XT2s and XT3s.
So in this day and age, why would you want just the window?
So their whole thing,
So you're
Fuji's whole thing
hip
is like,
and cool.
is like the whole thing about Fuji is like pure photography.
Yeah.
So it's about how you shoot, right? So when you actually want to look through the piece and see what's going on around you, it'll give you a frame of what you're shooting, and you can see what's happening around you. Now, for us left-eyed folks, I can't see when I hold the camera up; it blocks everything else.
Yeah,
out.
I shoot with my left eye too.
So right-eyed people can open up their left eye and see what's going on, right?
Yeah.
But that's a little different. So
And
when
you
you
make
can
a
see
left
actually what's like, you can see
camera.
what's going on around your people. The other crazy thing about the X Pro 3, which a lot of people are going to hate, and I think some people maybe here might not like, is the LCD screen is not displayed on the back.
Yeah, I saw it. It's like a flip
You
down.
have to flip it down to look at it.
It's like they're really forcing you to. They include that so that it makes people happy who want the screen.
Right.
But then, because they have that little screen on the back that just shows the style.
It'll show the style of photo, but you can change it. You can change it to like how many photos you have left.
It's just so
white
funny.
balance, like,
yeah.
It's like the old films when you used to
Yeah.
like take your film out,
You
rip
could
off the
see.
box, put it in the back of the camera so you knew what you were shooting.
Look
But-
up if you're totally confused
Yeah.
about this, just go to Fuji or look up the Fuji X Pro 3 and you can see some photos. So
It's a pretty niche, gnarly direction that they're headed in. Leica makes a very expensive rangefinder style camera that sort of does the same thing, and they don't even have an EVF on the back. But this camera uses X lenses, which we have. And it's smaller. It's a little bit more travel friendly.
I mean, it's definitely simpler in terms of
And it's
the
just
dials
simply-
and everything compared to the
For
XT
me,
series.
personally, I need and want a travel camera that is a little bit smaller. And for a long time, I was looking at the Leica Q2. It's like the upgrade to Sam's camera, but that camera is like $6,000, which
Yeah.
is bananas. And this is a cheaper version. I think the silver one is $2,000, and you can use your lenses on it. But for me, it's like you were talking about it earlier. Like, what is going to get you shooting? What is going to get you to have fun doing it? Like, what's the philosophy behind what you're shooting? And for me, going back to this simple way of shooting is like really exciting for me. Maybe taking an afternoon and turning off all the digital screens and just shooting without thinking about looking at the image afterwards sounds like a really good exercise philosophically and artistically to me.
This goes back to actually, I don't know if it was our photo chat last month, but Sam and we were talking about Sony versus Fuji or just Sony in general, and how Sony makes a camera that spec-wise, it answers any qualm that you would have. The sensors are amazing. It has all the options. The screens are, actually, I don't know if the screens are flip out.
On which one?
On like the A7
Oh, the Sonys.
3.
Not all of them.
But like,
A600.
if you're like looking for a camera and you're comparing spec to spec, camera to camera, the Sony is probably gonna
all day
be better all day. But if you're looking for a camera that will inspire you to take better photos and you're excited to use, I'm gonna argue that the Fuji is gonna win any day.
Yeah, I mean that's the difference between a company, Sony, who's an electronic company and makes electronics, and you see that in their products that they're all black or silver, mostly black. like there's no real attention to styling, versus Fuji, who is a photography company. Like they are paying attention to the style, the look, and the ability of the camera.
Yeah.
Versus all the bells and whistles. Now that being said, like A7s and Sonys obviously are like amazing cameras. Like full frame A7. Some of the images that Sam has gotten has been amazing, and the video is insane.
Yeah.
But again, it goes back to you as a photographer, you as an artist, you as a person. What are you going to be doing? There's a question here I just saw quickly. Like, are you going to use that to shoot a wedding? I'm like, yeah. Like that small little rangefinder when I'm just hanging out in the wedding, like I can just bring it up and like take a quick shot is like so much less intimidating than a big old DSLR ready to go.
But it's like probably about the same size as the XT too.
Yeah. It is
smaller?
without the vertical grip.
Okay.
But I put vertical grips on all the XTs.
Yeah, so
it becomes a bigger.
I could see it being nice since it's smaller, or even if it was even smaller. For me though, if you're throwing the question back to me when I would, if I would upgrade, I'm not going to upgrade to the X Pro 3, and I just got the XT2 last year, so upgrading to the XT3 like a year later seems kind of quick, and
XT2 is still a great camera.
Right, exactly. And so the XT4 might come out, and I might upgrade to the XT4 if it comes out next year. There's, in terms of like autofocus, those little improvements might be worth it for me. I think
the autofocus when I was doing headshots, I rented an XT3 versus the 2. It's so much faster.
Yeah.
Just the algorithm that they're using is just quicker.
I think that's the thing. And then now with the new cameras, the firmware upgrades, they're not doing it for the XT2 really.
Yeah, they've sort of kicked back on it. But if Fuji stays on track, the XT4 should be announced next year.
Yeah.
At some point.
The other thing I might do is if the XH2 comes out for video, and I could still use the same lenses, and if the XH2 is comparable to the XT4 in terms of what it's going to look like, it might make sense for me to get the XH1 for video.
So the takeaway here as far as upgrading is, again, what do you need and what do you do? Like that's what we're talking. I mean, not just Fuji, but like, does this progress your art? Does this progress what you can do better and get more jobs? You know,
I think everyone's like,
who cares about Fuji?
yeah.
There's a good question about like any advantages to mirrorless versus mirror.
And I think we'll end on that question because we're over our hour.
This is so much fun.
Yeah, we could talk about Fuji forever, but
the quick thing about mirrorless versus mirror, for me, I switched to mirrorless because they're lighter, they're smaller, and they were cheaper. And they're quieter.
And I think moving forward, this is another camera chat I wanted to have, though, which we can talk about in the future. But the Canon 1DX Mark II, I guess, is coming out. And the specs are going to be bananas for that camera. So when would you want that camera versus a mirrorless? But yeah, I think...
depends on what you do.
Yeah, it depends on what you do.
But yeah.
Build quality, I guess.
Also, when I shoot weddings, 2 mirrored DSLRs with a 70-200 and 24-70 shooting for 8 hours was killing me, physically.
Yeah.
The Fujis, the mirrorless, even the A7s, nice and light, shoot on those all day.
And I think there was a quick question about, do you guys have cameras from many different brands? Do you like all of them? I mean, in terms of what I've gone to, I've switched for photography to Fuji. It makes sense, I think, for most people to be in one brand just because lenses and everything are specific to brand. But we've shot with all the different
brands. I've shot everything. Much. I grew up as a Nikon person. I just switched over to Fuji because Nikon didn't have a mirrorless at the time, to be honest. If Nikon had a mirrorless and used all my Nikon lenses at the time that I was switching, I probably would have jumped to Nikon. But
have you ever thought about switching from Fuji?
I've just invested so much in Fuji already. And I love the color science behind Fuji. I think it just looks...
I think, and it just goes back to, at the end of the day, switching to another camera isn't going to get you better photos.
It's just going to make you more of an active shooter or not. But for video, I shoot a lot of Sony. Like, I've shot on the A7 a lot. I use Canon lenses for video constantly. Yeah. Like, we have EF adapters for our ARRI Alexa even. Our big $40,000 cinema camera, I use Canon glass on. So it just depends what you're doing, again.
Cool. Well, to all 27 people still with us live, to anyone who watches the replay in the future, thank you so much for being here.
Sorry about the Fuji tangent.
We hope you enjoyed it. Congrats again to the winners of our photo competition. We will also be seeing if we can launch another one in November. Maybe we'll do it a little bit later in November just to give us time to set it up. But it might be good to do that because December is always busy for a lot of people with the holidays. Even November is. And yeah, just as always, stay friendly. There have been some posts recently just about people not sure what should be allowed in the group in terms of posting it, content-wise, being friendly in the group, not being friendly. If you ever have a question, you can always just, for the post, I think you just click in the top right. There's a drop-down menu to report the post to the admins, and we'll look at it. We want to make sure that this group is a friendly environment for photographers, and really that's what it's all about, helping each other out. Being photo friends.
Yeah.
So thank you again for watching. We'll hopefully be back in November. I know with the holidays things get a little bit crazy, but whether we're here for a live stream or just popping in to say hi, we'll be around. And any final words?
No, just get out there and start making some photography shots. Shoot photos.
Cool. Thanks a lot, everyone, and we'll talk soon. Have a beautiful day.
Bye.
Bye.